Identifying.
The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today I have a PuggiCorn for you. This was requested by a little girl I know, and I thought, what a cool challenge. So, what do you think? My little 3D PuggiCorn, Unipug, unicorn, a unicorn pug, a pug unicorn. I think I've done a pretty cool job of this little pug unicorn. If you want to see how to make it, stick around. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Let's get started. So once you've got your template from the Cakes by Chopper Facebook page, you're going to section off your cake into 3 parts. Again, this is scalable. You can use it to this smaller cake, or you can upscale it and print 3 of the 1 pug and make a much bigger one. I've pre-measured my cake into 3 sections, which I'm going to cut and then stack. But first of all, I'm going to cut out the shape of the pug, knife vertical, and then just go around. What I did was cut out the peanut shape from the middle and then leveled it so the head was a little bit lower than the backside and just tapered it in at the bottoms. Then we're going to take our frosting of choice or buttercream. Just give that a generous layer in the middle. You don't want to go too much, but not too stingy, obviously. And try and keep it level so you're not having an uneven cake. Make sure to chill your cake beforehand and you won't get as much tearing as I am. Okay, now that I've got the crumb coat on, I'm going to go through my scraps and find the pieces that I want. So I've flattened that down. I'm just going to round it off. So if you make like a circle with a point, like a teardrop, we're going to use that as his thighs. So just place that on either side. Then using one of these long pieces, just cut, which we're just going to put at the side like that. You can see he's already coming to life. And crumb coat those as well. You'll really start to see his shape coming together now. Now, as you can see, I'm filling in these little crevices here. Don't worry about that. You can go over and fill them, because when we push the fondant, it's going to make it look like little fat rolls. And that's kind of what you want for your pug. Now that it's been in the fridge for a little bit and chilled, I'm going to go over with the second coat, which will get a lot smoother. Taking the fondant I'm going to use, I'm going to ball it up, make sure it's nice on the top, place down some corn flour, and then roll that out. Now again, we're going to do this a little thicker than I normally would, because we're going to be working details into the fondant just for his little chub rolls, and you know, we want to make him as cute as possible. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Bring the fondant back over. We'll go from the back. All the way over. Now I've fell that short a bit on the front, so lifting up. Bring it forward. There we go. Starting at the top, smooth him down. Just let the fondant fall, but push it in as it goes, because you don't want it to stretch too much. Now I'm going to go just a little bit out from the edge, ever so gently, bring it around, cut off that excess. Now just with my finger, I'm going to run around the edge and smooth that off and tuck it underneath. If there's any bits like this, you can just sort of trim away the excess on an angle and then smooth it down. We want to avoid this bunching up here like this, so I'm going to push with my finger and then I can just trim that piece away and then push it back. I prepared this board earlier, which is what I'm going to put him on. It's just a fake. This is my version of a really quick quilting. Now I'm going to bring him from the front leg going across and place him on the board. And try and pull that out as neat as you can. You see I've placed him to the back. Now we can get our shaping tools. Go in, just gently rub those in where you want the shape to be a bit better. Back of a paintbrush is also good. So we'll bring that up, across. This is where if you push too hard, you're going to pierce the fondant and it'll go straight through to the pink and show up everywhere. Just switching between tools to smooth out those finer lines. And just give him some puggy rolls. Now you'll see on the template that there is a couple of shapes in the middle. I'm going to use some of this fondant to ball up and give him a little curly tail, which we will need some edible glue for. I'm just going to ball that up in my hand, make a sausage, trim it off on one end. You sort of want it to be a little bit bigger like this, and then make sure you don't get fingerprints in it. And just curl that over like a pug tail. Kind of reminds me of Squirtle's tail. Make sure the bottom is a little bit rounded and flat. We'll glue a little bit there and there. I think that way's better. We'll curl up. So place that on. You can see, push his tail. Give it a little lean to the side. Got a very cute little curl to it. Okay, same technique for his legs. We're going to roll out the shape that we want. Try and get rid of any lines or folds in the fondant. Best way I find to do that is do a ball. Find the nicest part you can. I'm going to roll this quite thick. It's almost like a teardrop, but with a really long tail. Then I'm going to fan it out a bit, but then push in. And I think that makes a very cute little dog paw. Now you're probably wondering why the cocoa. I'm going to use that as a colorant. Just get your dry fluffy brush. Just pat that over. It doesn't really flavor it too much. They might get a hint of cocoa and a little bit of the bitterness, but it generally just gives it a bit of color. Now I'm going to cut these on an angle. It's for his left paw. And then this one probably a bit straighter for his right paw. And I'm going to bunch that up a bit because it's a bit thicker on that side. Gently picking these up, and I'm going to squeeze the side, mold it to that. Same here, just flatten it out a bit. Push it on. Now using my blending technique, I'm going to dip my spatula in and then carefully blend this into his leg. It's not a flawless technique, but it's definitely one of the best I've seen to melt the fondant across. And to hide that just a little bit further, you can go in and put a few little pug wrinkles, and it's almost gone. Okay, same again. I'm just going to make the shape, cut it in half, make sure it tapers, squeeze the end to make it a little bit bigger, and you're going to cut in with 1, 2. Now let's see where these look best. Okay, this one's going to taper up and then smooth it like that. Be very careful not to pierce the bottom of your board like I just did and flick up pink onto the dog. And I'm going to angle that so it looks like he's sort of sitting on his leg. Because I'm very immature, I went through and gave him a little bum. And then I've gone through with the fluffy brush and my cocoa, and I've just sort of darkened up these little folds in here, just gently brushing them along. So take your chocolate fondant, ball it up, then you're going to squash it down and just manipulate that into a triangle sort of shape. Just think of a pug's ear. I'm going to manipulate that around, taking a little bit of the brown, the lighter brown, the tan, putting that in. And I'm going to lift that, try and keep the back smooth. I might put 2 little cuts in like that, which will help it fold, and just sit that on the table like that. Then you can create another one for the other side. Now, take your pug and just see if they are the right shape, size. They are. Now for his eyes, I'm going to make a pear shape, which I've only taken a small ball of fondant, a little bit down. I'm going to chop that in half and then just manipulate that to be the shape of his eyes, which they've got almost a sad pear shape. I'm just going to do this freehand, but just follow the template and place it on in the same spots. Then I'm going to take my tool and do a few more little crease lines that follow that. Okay, now I'm going to take quite a large piece for his snout. You can see I did an oval in the middle of the template, which I'm just going to push down. I do want this to protrude a little bit. Measure it till it's the right size. I'm going to push it down at the side a bit and up. The oval in the middle is to show you how much fondant it will take for this size pug. And I'm going to draw a little line up the middle to give him that little bottom lip. Another one up the other side. And then pushing the bottom lip in and under. I might trim that a little bit. Using a tiniest bit of the edible glue. Just paint the back, just for a little bit of extra security. Then I'm going to place that on, and I can manipulate it around a little bit. I saved a little bit of pink from this board, where I thought it'd be cute to add a little tongue. Now, up underneath where you can't see, I'm actually going to poke that in, and then fold his tongue over, which will help hold that. Then I'll take a tiny little bit of black fondant, which you can see the shape of his nose. I'm going to place the ball in the middle and I'll manipulate that while it's on, because you can just push up and up. A few little poked holes there, looks great. Take some white fondant, roll it into a ball. I'm going to chop that in half, keeping it nice and round. Place that on. Now you can see I'm letting them bulge out a little bit because I do want it to look a little bit crazy, because I think pugs do look crazy. Now using a little bit more of the tan, I'm going to roll 2 eyelids, which I'll place around the eye. Now taking a little piece of black, I'm going to push that on like that. Try and get them round. Now I've got a little bit more white here, which I'll roll a little ball, push that in. Now we can place on the pug's ears. A little bit of that edible glue, pushing that down. Now the little girl that requested me to make this cake, she wanted a PuggiCorn. So my idea was to give it a little unicorn headband. I think around the top would look great. Now I'm going to cheat and use a piping tip, but I'm going to use the tip and just make a decoration that makes it look like a fancy little headband. Just pushing that into the fondant. I made this off camera. This is a little unicorn horn, but before we place that on, I just figured I'd make a little rosette base, which very simple. I'm just going to roll a ball and just pull the sides in to make a little flower. Which I can place on top. And then when I push the unicorn horn in, it should go all the way down to make the little pug corn. These are just little extra additives to make it not look so bizarre. Now lastly, if you want, this is up to you, I'm going to use a little bit of black petal dust and go in and darken up a few of those features. Just in and around where a pug has the darker features. Putting a little bit on, then lightly brushing it off. And once you're happy with the black shading, your pug cake is done. Guess who forgot to film an outro for this? I do really appreciate you guys clicking on the video. If you want to check out some more of my videos, just click above, or check out one of the creators I've chosen for this video, because they're amazing, and I think you should check them out and show them some love also. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye guys.